Replicore, we do believe that surface antigen clearance is essential for functional cure. We know that almost all the antigen load is from surface antigen. We've heard that discussed previously. There's a great deal of correlative evidence that really shows us the persistent surface antigen is likely to maintain immunosuppression. And even with control of cccDNA, there's interesting studies which have shown that if surface antigen persists, reactivation can occur. The challenge here is that surface antigen is produced mostly by subviral particles, and further confounded by the fact that integration of HBV DNA provides a source of subviral particles which are produced independently of cccDNA, and therefore likely more difficult to target with direct-acting antivirals or even by innate immune approaches. So 2139 is a nucleic acid polymer. We build this from a very old chemical platform, phosphorothioate oligonucleotides. These drugs are targeted efficiently to the liver with pharmacologic activity by IV or sub-Q. And the long-term safety of this chemical class has been well demonstrated in more than 15,000 patients to date. 2139 is our lead compound. We have confirmed the efficient uptake into the liver with sub-Q administration in monkey studies, and the elimination of immunoreactivity with this compound drives very excellent preclinical tolerability. 2139 does not interact with the virus or any of its components, and it is the inhibition of the assembly of subviral particles inside hepatocytes which likely drives the inhibition of secretion and exposes surface antigen intracellular turnover. We believe the host target is involved in HDL metabolism for two reasons. First, subviral particles show remarkable biochemical similarity to HDL, and NAPs are inactive in rodent models where HDL metabolism does not mirror that found in humans. But importantly, in the duck models, we have seen that 2139 therapy is accompanied by early clearance of surface antigen from the liver. So the antiviral mechanism of 2139 is fairly straightforward. We block the assembly and release of subviral particles, and this is what really allows us to remove the replenishment of surface antigen into the circulation and allow the host immune response to clear surface antigen in order to establish functional cure. Just a brief history of what we've done in the past. Monotherapy, we know that 2139 is inactive in all major patient populations. Genotypes A, C, and D respond. This is likely an activity to be conserved against all genotypes because the virus is not the target. We know that in monotherapy we get a rapid 3 to 7 log reduction in surface antigen. Many of those patients make it down to less than 1 IU per ml. And this is accompanied by seroconversion for E and S. I would point out that S antigen seroconversion is, we call that a stable unmasking with levels approaching but not exceeding 50 IU per ml with chronic monotherapy exposure. We also see clearance of HBV RNA and HBV DNA. And importantly, asymptomatic ALT flares. These occur in monotherapy in E antigen positive patients but not E antigen negative patients, and they only happen when the surface antigen drops down to below 1 IU per ml. When we combine with immunotherapy, we see a clear synergy, which allows us to reduce the dose of 2139. We actually get an increased rate of clearance to less than the limit of detection in most patients. This is accompanied by clearance of correlated antigen. Also, dramatic increases in circulating anti-HBs. This is always very nicely targeted with the introduction of immunotherapy, and there's rapid elevation to greater than 10,000. That's supposed to be milli-IU per ml in most patients. So there's clearly a change here when we start with surface antigen low, what immunotherapy is able to do. And of course, we see now asymptomatic flares in almost all patients, again, stronger when surface antigen is less than 1 IU per ml. And this has led to increased rates of functional cure in inactive HBV in those early studies. So now I want to focus on the latest study. This is our REP 401 study where we're looking at an advanced triple combination therapy. So we use NAPs in combination with tenofovir and interferon. There's two NAPs here, 2139 and 2165, which we can go through offline. They're very close cousins with similar mechanisms of action. In this study, we took E antigen negative patients and gave them a lead-in of tenofovir for 24 weeks, and then the groups were randomized into two groups. In the gray bar there, you see they just received tenofovir and interferon, or they go right into triple combination therapy. And you can see here, after 24 weeks of tenofovir and interferon, we have a crossover. So if we don't get a surface antigen response, we cross them over to receive the triple combination therapy as well. So this trial design allows all patients to have access to the potential for surface loss while demonstrating futility in the patient population to existing treatments. So here's the surface antigen response. You can see very little surface antigen response during the lead-in of tenofovir as expected. And in the control group, those are those gray lines that traverse the dotted orange and the dotted blue lines. Again, very little surface antigen response. And you can see when we add NAPs into the mix, the surface antigen has very rapid clearance down to below the limit of detection. What we call target not detected is 0.00 IU per ml returned on the Abbott Architect quant assay. So there's a large, very high frequency of responders here, very rapid response. And as Adam alluded to earlier, we clearly see seroconversion. This is, again, really timed to the introduction of interferon. This is qualitatively different from what we see with the unmasking response. So although we do not know what is going on here, it's very clear that something important is happening, at least with B cells in the periphery. We don't know if this is expansion or increased functionality, but the max anti-HBs there is now 233,000 milli-IU per ml. This is a log scale. So we look at that as clear evidence that with reducing surface antigen to very low levels, interferon does something important. There's the HBV DNA, which of course is well controlled, tenofovir, and the control is the same in the presence or absence of NAPs. We talked about, we observed liver flares with high frequency in our patient populations. So we have 77 patients treated to date. We see flares in 77% of those patients, and 73% of those patients go on to have an active HBV or functional cure. So this is an example of what the flares look like. And again, I've graded them here according to the surface antigen response. So flare activity is quite rapid, quite strong, more prevalent when the surface antigen gets down to less than a unit. And this is in the group that got triple combination up front. In the other group, where they soak with interferon for 24 weeks before NAPs, the flares are there, but you can clearly see that they are attenuated. And we wonder if this is indirect evidence of loss of T cell function with interferon, which has been shown by others. So as of the latest update, 34 of those 40 patients have completed treatment and at least 24 weeks of treatment-free follow-up. And this is what the surface antigen looks like. We have a stable maintenance of surface antigen loss in half of those patients. And in fact, most of those patients are sitting down well below 1,000 IU per ml and below 1 IU per ml. There's the anti-HBs. Again, seroconversion and high levels of anti-HBs are maintained at very high levels of those patients well into the follow-up. And HBV DNA is also very well controlled. This is target not detected in a high proportion of patients, but most of the other patients still have DNA less than 2,000 IU per ml. The liver status, so again now into the large follow-up, there's clearly a trend towards normal ALT in a very high proportion of patients. And the median hepatic stiffness appears to be declining in all of those patients, with a high percentage of those with a median hepatic stiffness consistent with F0, even when their median hepatic stiffness was significantly elevated at baseline. So there's clearly an improvement in liver function during the follow-up and compared to baseline. So there's the response summary. On treatment, very high rates of S down to below a unit and loss. And those meeting the definitions for an active chronic HBV or HBV functional cure constitute 85% of those patients now. So these are patients that don't require treatment according to existing EASL AASLD guidelines. So just to summarize, this approach of using 2139 as the backbone of combination therapy very uniquely achieves high rates of S loss during therapy. This is accompanied by removal of all of the viral antigens, and in animal studies, these also get cleared from the liver. Importantly, we see high rates of asymptomatic transaminase flares. Although we have not yet the data to show this, these appear to be therapeutic in nature and are always well tolerated. Again, we have high rates of functional cure of HBV, and this really, again, appears to be correlated with getting surface antigen down to less than 1 IU per ml on therapy. So 85% of patients currently meet this definition. And the long-term safety of 2139 has been well established with at least 2 years of follow-up in previous studies. So next steps, come and see us at AASLD. We'll be updating on the complete data set and next steps, particularly in Delta. But the next step is going to be transitioning directly to subcutaneous dosing. One of the reasons why you've not seen that yet with this is the common problem of injection site reactions with this chemical class. So the way to get around being able to predict no ISRs is to have the IV infusion tolerability be asymptomatic. That's now the case in the 401 study with 2139 mg. And that proof of concept trial will be initiating soon in co-infection. This has been publicly disclosed that we're going to be initiating a phase 2A trial in the US in collaboration with the ACTG. This really is going to be proving that we need the interferon to get these high rates of control to set the foundation for a phase 2B trial where we will hope to transition to sub-Q. And the other important point here is assessing other immunotherapies. So we've shown that interferon as well as thymosin alpha-1 are comparably synergized when you have low S. And this probably applies to almost all the immunotherapies we've heard about today. So we'll be very interested in looking at how we can get even better rates of functional cure with other immunotherapies. But we believe this is can be assessed with really excellent clearance of surface antigen. And that 2165 compound is salvage therapy for about the 10% of patients which have a suboptimal response to surface antigen. And thank you for your time.